Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia and welcome back to the OWLRU League Roundup. Win Conditions, Hangzhou Spark Edition. So, this is where we get into the nitty gritty of things, right? We've covered the Vancouver Titans, New York Excel, and the San Francisco Shurk, And Hangzhou Spark are kind of the start of the clump of teams behind them. Although Shurk have kind of been drawn into this fight slightly. Hangzhou Spark currently sit on a 14-7 record. They are 4th in the league right now and 3rd in the Pacific Division. They are 2 losses behind the San Francisco Shurk, or 2 wins I should say. Although they have a vastly inferior map differential, so it's not on the Hangzhou Spark side, but it's doable to catch the Shurk. And the higher you finish, the better seed you get in the playoffs. Talking of the playoffs, there is only a 2-win buffer over falling out of those playoffs entirely though and into the play-ins. They are being caught. Or I can say caught, or they're being followed hot on the heels by the Gladiators, Seoul Dynasty, London Spitfire, Shanghai Dragons and the Philadelphia Fusion. I told you it got interesting, and this is where all these teams start to clump up and it starts to get very, very messy. The thing that's on the Hangzhou Spark side is they've hit form, big time of recent. They've settled down into the meta, although the meta in Stage 4 could be changing with a 2-2 roll lock that is rumoured to be happening. So, this could change things for the Hangzhou Spark, and their stage is by no means easy. Again, a trend we are seeing with the top teams right now is their Stage 4s are not as easy as the rest of their season has been. So Hangzhou Spark start off with the Atlanta Reign. Now, the Atlanta Reign are currently in the play-in spot. They're looking decent, but are they looking decent enough to beat the Hangzhou Spark? I'm not quite sure. Again, we'd have to see what a 2-2 roll lock might give us. It might shake a lot of things up. But I would expect the Hangzhou Spark to beat the Atlanta Reign, even though the Atlanta Reign got 2 very crucial wins at the end of Stage 3. You look at Hangzhou Spark's Week 2, they take on the Guangzhou Charge. Again, you'd expect them to win here. Although, if we do go into 2-2 meta, then I would expect the Guangzhou Charge to be more dominant than they are now. They have very good DPS players. So would they be able to out-DPS the Hangzhou Spark? Maybe. Guangzhou Charge are a team to look out for if we go into DPS heavy comps, because they've got very, very capable DPS players. Moving on in Week 3, this is where it starts to get tough for Hangzhou. They play the New York Excelsior and the Chengdu Hunters. So Chengdu Hunters, again, you should hope they would get a win against the Chengdu Hunters. Again, these are Atlanta Reign, Chengdu and Guangzhou. They're teams that are fighting for play-in spots, so they're never going to be easy teams to take down. But then you've got the New York Excelsior. So by this time, the New York Excelsior could have their playoff spot secured. Might make it an easier prospect for the Hangzhou Spark to take on. And including the fact that the Excelsior wouldn't be threatened by Hangzhou Spark making ground on them, because Excelsior would most likely have the top spot in the Atlantic Division sealed up, and therefore they would have that bye in their back pocket. Hangzhou Spark are looking to catch the Shurk, and this is the big thing here. Moving on to Week 4, maybe going back to Week 3, maybe Hangzhou Spark do get a win over Excelsior. It's possible, it's certainly possible, but again, could be heavily meta dependent. Then you look at their Week 4, they've got to take on the Dallas Fuel. Dallas Fuel, a team that really needs to pick up wins. They're currently lying around mid-table, but they've been a bad run of form and are being caught by the chasing pack that want the other play-in places. So Hangzhou Spark are not going to have an easy game here, although I'd expect them to get past the Fuel eventually. And then they have to play the LA Gladiators. That's not an easy game. That's 4th versus 5th as it stands. Gladiators haven't got an easy stage, but this could be where one of these teams, or almost certainly where one of these teams locks in a playoff spot, unless one of them has a catastrophic stage. So, I think Hangzhou would have enough to see them off, but again, if we go into a DPS meta in 2-2, maybe the Gladiators might have the edge here with the likes of Shurk. It's difficult to know with the more newer teams where we might stand in a DPS heavy meta, although Hangzhou I think are quite capable of doing well. And then in Week 5, we have the Kit Kat rivalry weekend. They all play one game and it'll be against the Shanghai Dragons. Again, Shanghai Dragons, this could be win or bust for the Shanghai Dragons in terms of playoff places. So they will most likely have to win to get into those playoffs. When you look at other people's schedules, Hangzhou Spark, they might have already qualified at this point. We don't know. It depends how their stage goes and how they might react to a meta change. Now, on paper, I would say if you look at current conditions, Hangzhou should have a fairly stable stage. They should be able to secure a playoff spot, but you don't know. But one thing I would say about Hangzhou is never to underestimate them. They look like the Philly Fusion of last season. The team that were never expected to be quite this good, but are this good. And a lot of rumours were started at the start of the season. A lot of teams came out and said in scrims, the Hangzhou Spark are looking incredible. And once they've settled into the league, that fruit has now been bared. So, Hangzhou Spark, they look good. But a freak loss can cause some big issues for the Spark. And I'd hate to see them drop outside of the playoffs, considering what we've seen from them in the past. Stage 2 and 3 has been really good for the Hangzhou Spark. But when you look at it, a loss to the Gladiators and a loss to the New York Excelsior, and also all of a sudden Spark are fighting for their playoff place. It's not beyond recognition that Spark could miss out on an automatic playoff and be dragged into the play-ins that we'd see after Stage 4. But flip it on the other side and say Hangzhou Spark have a good stage. That means they open up the gap against the Gladiators. They get a freak win over the Excelsior, which would be perhaps unexpected in some respects. And with Shurk's difficult stage coming up where they'll have to play against the Titans, it's, again, within feasibility that the Spark could also nick third spot from the Shock. This would be massive because this would give them a better seeding in the playoffs because the Shock and the Spark are in the same division. But when it comes to that, it doesn't really matter. The divisions mean something for the people who win divisions, right? That really does look like it's going to be Vancouver and New York. They don't look catchable at the moment. It is possible for Hangzhou Spark to catch them, but Vancouver would have to lose at least 6 games this stage coming up, and I don't think that's going to happen realistically, do you? So, Hangzhou, you're looking good. You're looking good. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that you could sneak that third spot, but it's also, you're on the edge of 2 losses, which are entirely feasible this stage, and suddenly you're on that tightrope in that 6th spot, providing the other teams can get their wins. That game against the Gladiators could be absolutely humongous for Hangzhou Spark's season. It really could. That last game on week 4, that is one to put in the calendar. That's going to be an absolute blockbuster, I think. But that is your win conditions, or are your win conditions for the Hangzhou Spark, who are looking in a really good position. They just need to make sure they keep the consistency they've been showing in the past 2 stages and carry it through Stage 4. But a meta change could provide some questions. But I'm going to leave it here. That's 4 teams done so far. Next up will be the Los Angeles Gladiators. And, again, another team looking at a not so easy stage. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then.